Hi, and welcome to another session. My name is Niels Knuzen, and I'm working for Knuzen SAP HCM Security. I'm working as a subject matter expert and have been in Knuzen since 2006. Knuzen SAP HCM Security is focusing on SAP HCM solutions and security. We're today delivering solutions within the entire SAP product portfolio, but remain our focus in SAP HCM. You'll be able to find this presentation as well as other details on our website, the www.knuzen.com. Well, let's start with the presentation. When you're setting up the master data structures for SAP HCM, you must be through some thoughts and some decisions related to setting up the structures. And we will in this session focus on some of those thoughts which you'll be going through when you're setting up the structures. Some of those considerations we're meeting from other customers are, for example, the structures must reflect those dimensions we're using for reporting. The reporting structure, the line of command, must be reflected in the organizational structure. The dimensions chosen for the master data structures must be intuitive to use. Sometimes customers also want to have the old system's master data structures reflected in the new setup in SAP HCM. And there can also be a requirement regarding that only valid data should be available for those employees they are selecting. So data for hourly employees are available for hourly employees, and for salaried employees for salaried employees. So these are some of the considerations you will have to go through. The three structures, the three main structures we have in SAP HCM is from the organizational management part, the organizational structure. This reflects the reporting structure, should do, and here a line manager is in charge of his or her employees based on the OSP, organizational unit position, person assignment. Then we have in personal administration, PA, we have the enterprise structure. This reflects the company and locations, and functional aspects can also be shown in, for example, the personal shop area. This structure is actually a combination between finance and HR. The next PA structure, the personal structure, is a pure HR structure. It reflects the employees belonging to the company and how they should be handled in regards to time, compensation, and payroll. It consists of the employee group and the employee subgroup. But let's start with the organizational structure. The organizational structure should reflect the reporting structure. So you don't need to maintain an alternative structure in the when you are having set up the organizational structure. So normally they should be merged. The organizational structure must also be closely aligned with the cost center hierarchy from controlling. It should also be set up in alignment with the logistic and finance. Because the cost or the organizational structure is not used solely in HR. It's actually used across a lot of SAP components for workflows and for invoice handling. So you must align it with other areas to secure the future of the organizational structure. Then when you have the employees in the structure, make sure that all employees are in the structure or related to the structure. Normally it would be assigning a position to an employee. That's the common way. Because if they have been assigned to a position, then we can reach them through reporting. We can reach them for workflows, so items will reach them. And also for structural authorizations, it's an absolutely need. Not absolutely. Yeah, there are workarounds, but it's definitely easier if you have assigned the employees in the structure. Let's try to look at the structures. So I will just show you the organizational structure. I'll show you how to set it up. I'll show the position job relations and the manager relations, which is, can also be used across countries and divisions. So here we have the organizational structure, and I have one root organization. Underneath this I have several other organizational units. As you can see here, I have set them up as divisions. They can also be created for other than divisions but countries. Underneath the division here I have a setup based on functions. It could be production, sales, HR, and this can be also created for the other divisions. Now you can see that I have the country set up. So I have first the root organization, and then the next levels here are actually based on the countries. So this is also an option to set up the organizational structure, but always keep it aligned with the other SAP areas like logistic and finance. Then you can see here we have the manager created, and in this case we have a manager position, job describing the manager position. And this can also be used for reporting. So if you're having the job structure set up, then you can use it to assign and describe your positions in the company, and this can also be used for reporting. Yeah, we have the country assignments, which is used. And that's it. Let's continue to the presentation. The next area within this presentation is regarding the personnel administration structures. This is the enterprise structure and personnel structure. From these structures, we normally set them up regarding three main criteria. This is validity of data, it is the security control, and reporting needs. So if you're trying to look at the validity of data, then we have the idea of creating these structures. So they are grouped according to employees' logical handling of compensation, payroll, and time management, for example. With the SAP HCM structures, here we can restrict the availability of data, so it's only those entries which is relevant for the employee which will pop up. This is actually handled through some groupings and indicators in the tables I have shown you here, the T001P and T503. But let's try to look at an example of those groupings here. So here I have an employee. This is actually in info type 7, the planned working time. And you can see if I'm choosing the available work schedule rules for this employee, I have 28 work schedule rules. Here you can actually see the groupings. Those groupings I will show you later. First I will show you for personal area and the personal sub area, where we can find the groupings related to the work schedule rule. So if we're looking here to the, here we have one of the personal areas we have created. And then we're able to see here we have the work schedule rule and 08. So that's actually the grouping related to my personal area. So each time I'm creating a work schedule rule, they will be within this 08. And then I can restrict the amount of work schedule rules for this personal area. But I also have the other dimension. This one, the T508A table, this is actually where I have all the work schedule rules. You can see we have a lot. Was it 449? So there's a bit of a split between 28 and 449. And that's actually because we have the groupings. First I will show you the groupings for the employee subgroup as well. So I'm going into 08 for UK. And here you can see for active employees, coming, there it is. That's actually grouping number 2. So let's try to go back then we can actually try to say 2 for GE, that was the calendar for Great Britain, and then the grouping for personal sub-area 8, and then we see we have 28 entries. That's actually reflecting quite well. So here we have the 28 entries. As far as I remember, that corresponds to those we had here, 28. So the groupings are actually controlling what we can see. Pretty good. Yeah. That was personal area. Then we have the authorization perspective, because the master data structures, which include personal area, employee group, subgroup, and perhaps personal sub-area, which can be included in the organizational key, those are all represented in p-org-in-con, which is one of the main authorization objects we have. There are several business needs. Business has a need for restricting local administrators only to see local employees. There might be that HR employees are not allowed to see their own colleagues' data. There can be HR partners who is not allowed to access senior management, or board members who is not allowed to be accessed by HR senior partners. So there can be a lot of different business needs which must be reflected. So let's try to look at it. So here we have, again, the employee. We have the main enterprise structure assigned to my employee, have the personal structure, employee group, subgroup. Going into a role, then I will be able to show you the authorizations, which is assigned here. Opening up for human resources. I'll just show you the technical, so we can see that it's p-org-in-con. And then we're opening up, and then you can see here, we have the authorization level, read, write, etc. We have the organizational levels, and here you can see that the organizational levels is inherited to positions here. So I have a range here called K and Z star. That's all the personal areas starting with this. Access to those info types. I have personal area, employee group, subgroup, authorization profile, structural profile. That will be later in another session. Subtype and organizational key. So they are actually all used for our authorizations. So you also have to take in the decisions that your security are met with the structures you're setting up. Then we have reporting needs. Reporting is always needed, and the needs are endless. If you're during your session or your decisions for dimensions, you can try to set up as many as possible, because the more dimensions you have reflected in the structures, the easier reporting will be done. Then you can make reporting with a lot of dimensions. So remember to set up the master data fields so they are reflecting one dimension. And that means that you are not messing up the data. In this case, I have shown you that if we have personal or the employee group, for example, you could say we have this for permanent, we have it for externals, we have it for temporary and directors. No, that doesn't taste well, because can a director not be permanent or what? So keep your dimensions clear. Then we also have you have to decide which master data fields you want to treat as global and which are supposed to be local for country use. Because if you have some of the dimensions global setup, then they are worth really a lot for reporting. For locations, that could be personal areas. That could be created so it has 4 characters. You can actually create it so the first 2 characters is representing the country, and then the last 2 would be representative for the location in the country. So in this case, I have created for Poland PL10 2030, for Germany, DE 10, 20, 30, etc. So in this case, you can also, when you're doing reporting, just make a search for all the employees in Germany, DE star, executed. So let's actually try to put in some logic in your fields. Yep, let's try to look at some reporting. Again, here we have an employee. You can see we have all the enterprise structure. We have the personnel structure with personnel area, sub area, employee group, subgroup, and those fields are used for selection. In this case, I have the flexible employee data. That's a standard SAP report, and here you can see that we have the options for selecting personnel area, company code, employee group, subgroup. All those master data fields, we are deciding upon what they should represent. So if they are set up correctly, you can use them for reporting in a lot of reports. Those fields, the master data fields for enterprise structure and personnel structure are used all over. The employee list, you can see again, okay, I chose the organizational key, but here again we have the main dimensions from the enterprise structure and the personnel structure. And this is actually all the specialists I got. I can also get this result from another report. In this case, I'm going from the job specialist to the position, to the person, executing with my flexible employee data report with a variant called Knuzen. And that's actually the one here you're showing. This is the flexible employee. I'm choosing this one, Knuzen. You see I've chosen some fields. Let's go back. I have an evaluation path for this report as well. So I'm going from C to S to P. And again, you can see I have 3 specialists in my company, if my master data is correct. And that's the same here. So there are many ways to get the result. When you're setting up the structures, they must be robust and stable. There can be a lot of future needs you don't know of yet, besides success factors, for example. You can end up with migration in case of merging with another company, or in case that you have to carve out your employees in a split up of the company. Then you have the customizing of the data and all the work related to the changes in PA data. That's minor, but the migration might be a huge task. Another thumb of rule: don't force the old system structures down the throat of the SAP HCM. You can instead actually create your own customer-specific info type, the 9,000 areas as we have here, and then keep the historical data here for transition smoothness. What to avoid? Don't waste your structure's dimension on redundancy, such as repeating the company code in personnel area. Make use of them instead. Don't just copy the old structures. Also, when we have the employees active, inactive, terminated, this is a status. It's actually not a piece of master data, which should be found on your employee records. It can be found on the info type 0000, personnel action, and should not be repeated in the employee group, for God's sake. And then avoid to have different dimension, as I showed you, with the permanent, temporary, externals, and director. It's messing up the data discipline. Yeah. Yep. Thanks for listening. You'll be able to find more information of customizing in our next session, which will be related to the structural authorizations. And more information can be found on our home site here, www.